getting deeper now and exchange traded through these kind of asset like options, futures, hedge funds, prop desk. Everybody is talking about it. And now here is an uncomfortable part. If I ask in this room, we have around 10, 15 people batch, right? We might be having such numbers, 10 or 5. But if I ask this room to explain how crude oil future curve works, most of you might have or could explain it. But if I ask you, explain how a carbon allowance is created, allocated, banked, surrendered, you might have a trouble to explain it. Okay, that's why you joined this program. So the gap between the market size and professional literacy is the single biggest arbitrage in today's market and in your career, which I'm talking about. That's the arbitrage. We will be making that arbitrage capitalized, monetized in next 6 months. That's our duty. So this boot camp of 6 months exists to close this arbitrage gap and giving you the edge so you grow faster. And over next 1 or 2 hours, whatever session we will be extending to, and this is the shorter session compared to our normal session, I am going to walk you through the treaty footnote, which became a asset class. Treaty, I'm talking about Paris Treaty or Kyoto Protocol Treaty. A footnote. This was into footnote of both of them. Today, it became a asset class, an asset class. And why? Professionals who understand its plumbing are being priced like a specialist in the shortage. So first time I'm using a word called plumbing for practitioner who will be using this footnote as a asset class and make money out of it for themselves and for the company and client for whom you will be working tomorrow. Is it okay? Is this part is clear that what we are going to cover? Simple, right? And we are starting with section 1 of part 1 today, and we are going to look into that size of this market. Yes,
Uh,
size of
uh,
this market. And
can, can I ask one question
yeah,
really
please,
quick?
please, please, please.
Sorry to be nosy
No, no,
here.
no, no. Keep asking as many questions as you can. Yeah, go ahead.
Does this program help me answer to a client that me doing this carbon credit management professional certification is worth to your organization? Because yesterday I happened to see a news clip in European Union. Almost 1,000 people died of heat, and over 40,000 units of AC have been sold out. People have been barging into shops to snatch ACs,
Right.
and the report also says if you have more AC, it's going to be again more CO2 produced.
Emission.
So
Yes. It's a
yeah, so
cyclical stuff. Yes.
so if I happen to join an organization and happen to get into this, what does this program tell me? What value can I contribute to the organization?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a good question, by the way. Thank you very much for asking, Biju. Let me tell you very clearly, it definitely helps you to, first of all, now you saw this VCS cycle of people emitting AC, CFC, and HFC in the atmosphere. And that keeps adding to the climate change, and Germany gets hotter and hotter. That's the cycle, right? That's the vicious cycle. To stop this vicious cycle, European Union in 2005 has launched the same market in which you are getting certified. And they call this market European Union ETS system. Yeah. In European Union ETS system. For environment, this particular ETS system, right, was created. Clear, everyone? Are you aware about European Union ETS? Do you know anyone? Anyone who heard about it? Can you tell me what you know about it? If you know it. If you don't know, no problem. We will be covering in detail as well. Okay, this is one of the part of our carbon credit, which is the last part, right? Where we will be learning that mechanism, how in that market over a 20 years period that it has evolved and added value to organization. And this market which exists is a compulsory market. It's not voluntary one. It is not made mandatory to all company in Europe, but maximum number of company comes into purview of this market. Okay, specifically in certain section of the market is getting covered. Hence, you can definitely help companies who are looking to stop this VCS cycle or get penalized because of this VCS cycle. Because now it is the individuals who are buying the air conditioner. Company also has to increase their air conditioning capacity, because you might have heard Europe is a country which requires heating. Have you heard that? The China getting falling out of this European Union discussions created a challenge for them that their cooling will be challenged. Now they are talking about heating, their heating will be challenged, and now they are talking about cooling as well, which is rare phenomena in those countries. And El Nino and La Nina, which we'll be also covering in module 2, when we will start looking into the carbon accounting mechanism, right? Which Biju, you are anyway aware, you will get a revision there, and you will see that how this carbon accounting requires you to understand El Nino and La Nina effect, which is happening, which is also struck badly to India. Are you aware? 40% of deficit in one in lifetime, you might have seen such kind of number going down in a month. The of water precipitation or the rain which happens in our country has reduced by 40%. 40% from June of last 50 years data to this June in 2026. So we are also on the cusp of facing a massive problem. Okay. People are not yet started talking about it, but your numbers in food bill and your petroleum bill as well, because 20% of your petrol come from this same food, right? Of course, it's a byproduct, which is ethanol, but these two are very critical element which will also change our life. So yes, the answer is very yes, and this is what we will be learning in the next 6 months, that why this yes and how I can prove this to my employer or the client that it adds value to their growth, their competitive advantage, and also help them to meet their compliances, and that is called CCTS ecosystem of India, right? So European Union has a emission trading scheme, which is EU ETS. For people who don't know, please make that note. Of course, we'll be learning about it. And India have also launched a contemporary carbon market called CCTS, Carbon Credit Trading Scheme, which is getting operationalized in October itself. Okay, launch on 21st March, and this we have covered in last session as well, so I'm not going to repeat that. In orientation, please go ahead and watch the orientation session. Biju, if you don't have, please ask our team member Sandeep is here, and he will share with you. Now, we have talked about a ton of air which is tradable asset. That's what I was talking about. This carbon allowance has quietly became one of the world most active trading scheme. Okay, a traded community, rather we should say. So you have community gets traded on exchanges like bajra, jwar, right? In India, that is very specific. In world market, it is crude oil, right? Gold, silver. Now you have one more asset, and that asset is invisible, carries a quality of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. So if you see Bitcoin, this doesn't have an asset. That is also in air, right? Digital currency. Similarly, if you look into tradable asset of carbon credit, it is similar nature, but it is more authentic than the cryptocurrency as well, right? Because here, and what is the similarity? Both requires a validation that this credit, which is coming from thin air, has some validity, some proof, some people waiting for it, and hence what is the Bitcoin background is, and that background technology is, and that is blockchain technology. If you want to generate real-time carbon credit, you have to use blockchain trading. Yes, this EU allows, there will be a reading material which will be coming tomorrow to you. Okay. This is how we will be working. There will be pre-read and post-read material, because there is a gap between our sessions. I don't want you to take that gap, they take that pause. I want you guys to come every day, every alternate day, based on the group. We will be dividing the group very soon. In the next session, we will be dividing a group as well. So your group has to come your own discussion points, maybe every alternate day you meet, and do this post read material and pre read material together. So when we sit in the main class Saturday and Sunday, you are able to revise those. Right. So this is the I'm borrowing this graph from one of the publication which we'll be sharing with you tomorrow, that how European Union has capitalized this asset and made a mainstream trading asset for corporations, for businesses, not for private people like you and me, but for businesses. It became a major exchange. Clear? Similarly, India is also launching, and we will be sharing with you the success of EU ETS system study, which has been done over 20 years of research. This research paper is available with European Union. We have a copy of it. We have created a blog on it. We will be sharing that material tomorrow. Yes, Sandeep is there in the class. He will be definitely sharing with you tomorrow with a note that why you should read it and how you should read it. This market, of course, has crossed 700 billion in 2023 itself. 70 plus carbon pricing instruments are available today in different format. Okay, so it's not one instrument. Okay, carbon pricing instrument is live across several countries, and those are nearly 70 country which has launched this in some format, right? Voluntary or mandatory. 24% share of global GHG today is getting traded. So only 76% is yet not been traded, or people have yet not started mitigating it. Is it clear? Is it clear? And I need yes, no, maybe, okay. I need some prompting from your side. Otherwise, I don't know whether you are understanding or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so now if that is clear, let's move on to understanding another key concept, and that is how to size this market. What is the size of this market? Okay, this is one of the most important graph. We'll be again sharing some reading material later on, not now. Tomorrow you will be receiving European Union. I want you guys to read that success story and again build your thought process that why carbon market became essential for everyone. Now, this number, which should not exist, actually, if you ask me, it should not exist. Yes, it should not exist, but it exists. That is, every market has a moment when it stops being a niche or only few people understand and start becoming systemic. And I'm using these to work very, very authoritatively or humbly. Why? Because niche to systemic is a big and large process. It takes years and sometimes centuries to people to understand it. And one of the great example there is advent of AI and ML. AIML existed for more than 100 years. In 1920, you are aware Alan Turing has first time coined this word that the machines will learn their own and start deciphering all such kind of data. And he was referring to, he was referring to German spies versus UK spy theory. Okay, he coined that word, he put that theory in the mind of scientists, and 1960 you must have heard that people have developed first time machines which they started this learning themselves. In 1980 it became a phenomena where the large countries and corporations started working toward creating their one own ML system and AI system. And they started looking into it 20 years before, actually 10 years, exactly 10 years before the rise of, internet. Before that only AI started they working on. And in 1999, of course, everything changed when the bubble busted in IT sector and people started thinking what next for computer science to develop on. And today, in 2022, we know in 2023, with the advent of ChatGPT, a generative large language model had changed everybody's life. Today we know how to use it, and we know the use cases without which we will not exist. Today itself, in 3 years' time, can you imagine what will happen when carbon credit becomes that instrument that without this, your company and your own investment cannot exist? And obviously, if there is a climate which is worse than what we are seeing today, do you think your businesses will exist in the same format? Absolutely not. It has to change. Yuval Noah Hariri is a very good writer who talks about this. I always recommend this book, and we will be referring this book throughout our next 6 months, right? It starts with Homo sapiens, it goes into digital economy. I'm talking about the second book which he's published and his new lectures which he has delivered in McKinsey and Howard, which we'll be referring to, where he's talking about that how AI will be the one those transition in the historical evidences which we have seen, that they might work on our behalf, and we might be he's also that kind of thinker, that we might not be that useful for the planet Earth. Okay, AI will be much useful in next 100 year 200-year time, and that's the concept he's talking about. Of course, I will not going into the dooms theory, but we will be talking about what are the practicality in it and how we can use to make our career, okay, and at least the next generation of the careers which we are talking about. Is it clear? So that is one of the recommended book writer and book which we will be referring. Apart from, we will be also referring to another book throughout next 6 months. Will be Sun Tzu written book in 600th century called Art of War, right? That's another book. When we will go into mitigation and strategy setting, we will be referring that book as well. So these are the two recommended book. If you get time, get hands on it. The second volume of Yuval Harari book after Homo sapien, he has written about digital economy, and this particular book, which is the Art of War. These two books we will definitely be referring to. So if you have a hands on it while traveling, while having fun, if you can read part of it, it will definitely add your mindset to change. Now, coming back to this particular graph, that every market which has its own moments when they start becoming systemic. For carbon, that market already has happened, thankfully. Okay, we are in advanced stages, we are early picker, but market is already happened. Most of the profession and the voluntary market, you get an annual transacted value that means comfortably rivals to any scheme, name it, North American regional program which is working in this area, voluntary market through Vera certified or gold standard certified. Yeah, this is a voluntary market where you do it voluntary carbon credit listing, and even annual transacted value, if I look into these market as well, it will comfortably rivals the exchanges you will consider in mainstream assets like stock, debt, bitcoins. The numbers will be maybe 1 to 1000, but it still started coming into significance. Okay, so that is the point we are learning our carbon credit certification program. So what happens to the price of talent will be decided by how these markets are shaping up. Okay, today most paid jobs are in finance. How many of you agree? The highest paid jobs exist in finance. What they do? This is what I'm again borrowing Yuval Hariri discussion in Harvard. They do nothing but trading of your trust. Do you think they sell any product? Do you see they are manufacturing anything? Absolutely not. They trade trust. And trust is the part which we'll be using in carbon credit as well. And trust is where I want you, each of you, Ravina, Sandeep, Madhurendra, Yashwant, right? Each of you to pick up how to create the trust, how to manage that trust, how to create any document which remains audit ready and create the trust. That's the mindset. Okay, again, I am talking about the mindset. Mindset is we have to go into the business of trust where the large paying job exists, right? How many of you agree to this fundamental of trust being the center of people appreciating and paying you higher for your own work? If they have a trust and you are able to create that trust, Biju, marketing, IT, if you are able to give that comfort that there will no cyber attack can happen to your system, you will be paid highest in the market. Is it not true? Yes, Facebook, Instagram, what they do, they win your trust by giving you that drool streaming drool, sliding techniques, and you get that trust with those particular stuff, and you start building your reputation with them. You start building a trust factor with them, and eventually you go and buy those stuffs as well. Clear or not? This is how we are landing ourselves, and that is why this market, which is a mainstream market, has start and has a responsibility that whoever works in this market works on building the trust. And now you ask yourself as a consultant question, okay? When a market grows to a systemic scale faster than the talent pool or that service it has, what happens to the price of talent at that point in time? That is the talent question. The price of talent has to be linked to these two aspects. That market is growing to a systemic level where there is a massive requirement of financial consultant. For example, okay, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you have seen how the growth has come sudden, and there was nobody who understood this market. They failed to make money even by trading. Forget about by working in that market. If you work in that market, your salary is in crores anyway. Correct or wrong? This is what is happening in carbon market today. The talent gap or the price of talent I'm talking about is comes from this question which everybody should ask in this class. What is that? When a market grows to systemic scale faster than the talent pool and the services itself, we don't know other than CCUS unit what technology we should deploy to reduce the carbon emission. We don't know. That is still area is open, and government of India, are you aware about, is ready to give you 30 the price which is available. People like Yashwant, etc., people who are trading, who are in business, they should know this number. Are you aware about this number? 37,000 crores government of India wants to invest in 2026 and 2027. One market. Okay, this is the total investment size. 19,700 is already committed by government of India. Do you know this? This is in our budget of 2026, 2027, FY27. It is in our budget. This number is for CCUS unit. Okay, you bring anything fits into this market, you have that price to win. 97,700 is government money which come as a grant or subsidized interest, and there will be additional 20,000 or say 15, 16,000 which will be coming from private sector investments. This is what the total market size which government of India has envisaged in 1 year time. Clear? So it is rising really sharply, and that is the economic thesis for this entire 6 month program. Of course, we will have a structure to learn it. Yeah, you can't learn the trading first without knowing how to measure it, how to report it, how to manage it, right? Then only you can do the trading. People who start learning trading from YouTube, and maybe many people have done the stock investing. Yeah, many people guilty as charged are there. You know that they lose money in the market. They know option is not the right, the market is still they invest. When the RBI, the regulatory body which has no interest, they say every 100 trades which happens in option and trading in Indian market, 93 of them loses money. They never win. And that's the economics, right? Somebody has to, if somebody has to make 100 rupees, they have to take somebody else's pocket 100 rupees. Correct or wrong? You can't grow a tree of money, can we? I wish that is possible in future. I will love to do that, grow a tree and relax in life, right? But that is not possible, so it comes from somebody else's pocket. And if the market is limited with say 100 people, 93% people has to lose their investment in order to for 8 people to make that high side income we are talking about. Similarly, in this market, without you learning the proper structure, how to measure, how to manage, and how to report, and then do the trading will make sense. And then only you will be the really reliable person who can create that trust for which people will appreciate you. Your career transformation is guaranteed, ladies and gentlemen, as long as you understand the mindset, you understand your tools which we will be providing in this session, and you are humble enough. Remember what I'm saying. You are humble enough to learn from each other in this class. I cannot give you that transformation alone. This transformation requires 10 people. That's why we have limited this batch to 15. We know that not every time 15 people will turn up, right? Many people do investments that they do not turn up. But you are the one whom I'm seeing today. Trust me, will have a career transformation which you desire and wish. As long as three criteria are met. Your mindset remains progressive, which we are trying to do, right? And I have given you one clue, which is trust. You have to build on that. You have to create, you have to learn every theory which you will be learning. Second, follow the classes which will be happening only on weekend, 3 hours every weekend, 2 days. So 6 hours a week, you have to invest in class. And I am requesting you to invest additional 6 hours in a week. So 1 hour daily, that is what is expected. If you are not able to do every day, do it 3 hours in one day. I don't mind it, as long as, because we know we all are having some other work to do in our career, right? Learning is for our own personal benefit. Spend that 6 month additional 6 hours. So for a week, 12 hour, month, we are talking about 50 hours, right? In a month, right? We are talking about 50 hours, 50 to 60 hours max if you can do, right? And in 6 months, we are talking about 300 hours. If you do this 300 hours, you don't need 10,000 hours of real transformation. Your career will transform. 300 hours, you commit to yourself. Out of that 100 hour, I will be sitting with you without anything. I will be sitting 100 hour with you through recordings, through discussions, through talks like these. Okay. If transformation nothing not happens, nothing will happen. You have to trust the process, follow the process. Result is evident. Okay, result is evident. Just give that 300 hours, 3 hours Saturday, 3 hours Sunday, and 5 to 6 hours in a week. That's it. Clear? Now, if you have understood that global carbon market is at the cusp of changing, the world economics, where MBAs, CFAs, CA, chartered accountants, IT professional, marketing professionals, everybody is coming into play. And this is, I'm comparing with any trading market. Okay. This number is outsizing any of them. Why? Because it doesn't require any asset to be created, any physical stuff to be created. Okay. You have to reduce something in order to gain something. And that is why this market has that capacity, which I tell to my cohort all the time, that which will beat the Bitcoin market. Bitcoin market is for people, retail people to invest and capitalize on. They lose most of the time. Retailers are the only losers in the market, not the institutional investor. Okay, they lose sometime, they get bankrupt like Lehman Brothers, you must have heard in 2007. But in 150 years, a company which existed for 150 years dies off. That is okay. You are to getting bankrupt every 10, 15 years if you are not investing cautiously or judiciously. Are you not? Yes, 2007, how many of your investors had come down by 50%? And I know for a fact maximum of the people have lost it in 2007 itself, again in 2014, right? So every time a crisis comes, it hits the retailer pockets. Businesses never lose, and this is the business market, and hence this market has much more to thrive on. Clear? Now let's go into the basics. Okay, the basics, of course, we'll be going into Kyoto protocol, we will be going into major market discussions of Paris agreement. Those all are part of our phase one, but today is the introduction, so I'm touching everything today, trying to touch at least in next 1.5 hour or next 1 hour more. Yes, now let's start with Kyoto protocol. Now you have to know that cap and trade system got formalized with European Union formally adopting it under ETS system. Kyoto Protocol named this as a CDM. Have you heard about this word called CDM? That will go in your notes. CDM, right? Clean development mechanism, that they wanted world to be cleaner, and that is why they introduced Kyoto Protocol, introduced CDM. Now carbon markets today is based on that theory but evolved much larger, right? In 1997, if you are aware, the Kyoto Protocol was introduced. Kyoto Protocol was introduced in 1997. Clear? Every asset class which you know today, which can be equity, bonds, foreign exchange, commodity, evolved from bottom of commerce. Okay, that is why I always say it's a counting which we need to appreciate but not learn. Because everything, any commodity or asset has come from commerce background. But carbon is exception. Carbon came from science, merged with commerce to make sense to people. It has designed top down. Carbon is designed top down. Any asset class is designed bottom up, for which you need to know accounting, right? Debit, credit, profit, loss, a financial statement, balance sheet. You need to know all this for any of the asset class. But carbon market is exception. It is designed top down, exactly opposite of commerce, normal stock exchanges or asset classes. In a conference room of Kyoto 1997, and this is a story I'm going to cover again when we will be starting our phase one discussion from next to next session. Okay, we'll be starting next to next session, which will be happening on Saturday, Sunday. So Saturday will be our completion of what I have started today, but Sunday will be starting with our phase one introduction, where I will be covering a story of a conference room in Kyoto, Kyoto, Japan, 1997, where diplomats were sitting who never run their trading books. They never, did investment. How many of you do investment, by the way? Let me ask. Of Ravina and all is a, Ravina, you are a chartered accountant, aren't you? Means not a chartered accountant, but you did articleship, etc. Correct?
No, I work in the finance sector.
You worked in the finance sector. Okay. So at least you know all this, right? Asset classes which I'm talking to. Correct? But people, how
Yes.
many of you don't do investments? Means you are not very serious investor. You do it, but somebody guidance, mutual fund, etc. How many of you are like that in this class? Let me know. Anybody who doesn't do investment very seriously with research, etc. Oh, that's a okay. Only one person. Okay. Otherwise, it's a good news. So only Nisha, she's a professor, of course, in plastic and paper technology. Wonderful. By the way, EPR, EPD is one of those area which is a offshoot of this program as well. So we'll be repeating and we will be borrowing Nisha expertise there, right? Because she's there teaching that. So we will be asking you one of the session you take, Nisha, okay, where you will be voluntary helping everyone along with us on plastic industry, that how big the problem is, what are the things happening, what is the development, how people will convert a plastic in gold, right? That's what the EPR is all about, how to convert plastic in gold. And that is what we will try to learn from Nisha. Are you okay, Nisha? Can we have that session some point in time on EPR? Not in our regular session, apart from regular session, okay? We call a lot of industry experts. We will be calling at least two. One is happening on 11. Don't miss that session. We were designed it for 27. Now we postponed it to 11th. We will be send you that press release as well. There are three people from green building, they are coming, okay? Green building side, they are coming, and they will be talking about how that industry is growing. So Kalpak, it will be very interesting subject for you. We will be inviting you in the Zoom call itself. It will be on YouTube live, but we will be inviting this group and as well as our other cohort member directly in the class. Okay, Biju? So you can also come. Anyone who is interested, they will be welcome. Nisha, so this kind of event, when I'm doing on paper, we are doing textile on 27th of July. Again, you guys are welcome. So 11th and 27th, any day, 4:30, it can be any day, right? It's a date which we have fixed for future escape, seeing India as a developed country. And those sessions are free of cost for you guys, okay, to come and contribute. And you, if you want to be speaker on that session, please approach Sandeep and we will be also inviting you as a speaker. I am requesting Nisha in turn that you come and share. Kalpak, you can talk about solar. We will be giving you an opportunity to speak and reach to the audiences who are in sustainability business. So we'll be inviting you. Maybe it will be happening in August. So August, Nisha, if you can be ready, we can have it in August. These two sessions, okay? One on
Yeah.
plastic, one on plastic and EPR. Of course, we'll be calling more people to contribute, and we want you to be keynote speaker there. Okay, so this is our duty to give you the experience and put you in the pedestal to transform your career. Okay, so use it tactically. You can market yourself. I don't mind it, but make sure that everybody learns from your learning. Clear? Yes. Okay, great. Everyone can get that opportunity. Just speak or put your thought process on that, and we will give you that opportunity in next 6 months. Clear? So everybody can become a keynote speaker if they want, but of course they have to share something of importance to their group member. Okay. But these two people, I know their profile. They have already shared. Everyone, please share your LinkedIn profile so we can send you a formal invitation through LinkedIn on our channel itself that you are part of this cohort, and hence market knows that these people are getting qualified in carbon credit. Very important part. I need your photograph. Sandeep must have requested twice or thrice your photograph and your LinkedIn ID. This is what we need. We will introduce ourselves on the LinkedIn page, which you can repost. Start doing marketing yourself. Much you will do, better it will be for your career. Trust me. Okay, because what is being seen is what is being sold. Correct, Biju? Marketing people knows that. Yeah, the more you are seen, the more you will be sold. Yeah, very simple. Works very simple. World works very simply. Okay, let me go back to 1997. Of course, this story we will be covering on Sunday, next Sunday, because Saturday we will be having this session continuing. We will be talking about this in detail. But in that room, there was no trading book with the people who are sitting. Like today, Nisa doesn't have any trading books. She doesn't have too much of investment floating around, specifically in a stock for her own self, right? But what they understood was the origin of this carbon, which they thought could be brought as an asset, as developed as an asset. Okay. And you will see that origin and you understand the strange behavior that how market exhibit. And that is the story I will be covering there, that how market reacted. So such thought process of economist who wanted to create an asset like this. Asset from a air, right? Bitcoin was not there, by the way, 1997. Nobody even thought of creating Bitcoin in 1997. These economists thought of it, that let's create something in the air itself and trade it. And that's the market you are learning. So thank yourself that you are in that process of learning something which was thought before Bitcoin and got generated and has a foundations of not having any asset and is still getting traded. Okay, before that people used to, our civilization started with gold trade or silver trade, the copper trade, the asset, right? The real asset, which today is not possible for you to trade. Okay, you have to trade only in commodity markets. Clear? That was the physical asset, and today that physical asset is no longer required to do any kind of trading. You can do it through air, and that is the energy is the trade. Actual trading is the energy trade, and that is why you must have heard Indian CCTS market, again in your notes. CCTS market will be traded on Indian Energy Exchange, which is an energy trading mechanism, right? So that is the market which is first adopting our compliance market. Clear? Now, so diplomats sitting together in that room, a story for the next time, but they started looking into that how this behavior of market will change whole thing. Prices don't respond first to supply and demand. Prices never respond like that. Learn that. And that is why Indian market has waited so long to launch a compliance market. And still a lot of revisions are going on. Why? Because pricing is the key here. European Union CBAM, again in your notes, has put up first quarter pricing at $87, 87.5 euros sterling pound. That's the per aluminium credit. If you want to, pay to European Union CBAM market, you have to pay. That is the price they have fixed. Okay, because they have a vibrant market in background. They know in European Union how the aluminium sector units are getting traded at what price they are trading. So they have put that quarterly result. Similarly, for Indian market, we have to come up with a number. We have a generalistic number, which itself is very huge and very low. You know what is the number CCTS market has projected to start with? Anybody who is aware? 1500 rupees to 3000 rupees. In dollar terms is nothing. $15 hardly to $25, right? That is what the whole concept has started with. But when the market will launch, we know that there will be a specific number. Clear? Now, they responded in that conference room with voting, etc., and said that, okay, let's sign off this document. In footnote, they said that there will be a carbon market eventually will be created, which where all this reduction of carbon emission, which is happening in the atmosphere of planet Earth, will be targeted. And that became that treaty, directive, amendments, right? committee votes got reflected in one of the markets called European Union ETS market, where ETS was launched, emission trading scheme, and this was the first real world test, okay, where they started looking into a live place in Europe, which took the economic experiments of Kyoto concept, right, with the real world test, launching this EU emission trading scheme. So ETS stand for emission trading scheme. Okay, that's what ETS stand for, right? And it was and remains one of the largest economic experiment in history, an attempt to make pollution expensive by legislative degree. Okay, and like most first experiment, it failed. It literally failed, and we will be learning about another concept called hot air scandal. Right? It failed miserably initially, repeatedly. This not failed one time with hot air, several times, publicly. This is how hero bonds, right? They get ridiculed every 20 minutes, but they don't fail themselves. They believe in themselves, right? Publicly, expensively, they lost a lot of money. And that is why India has taken so much time to launch their CCTS market. Those failures, which we will dissect in act number 2, are not embarrassment, first of all. Yeah, that European Union today gain the respect because they failed so many times. That is our syllabus. Okay, every carbon market is built today, including India's, is built on the scar tissue of the European mistakes. Yeah, those scar which Hero took on their chest, which is European Union, Indian market has borrowed from it. That issue. So we do not make the same mistakes. Clear, including China NDS market, which also took some initial hiccups after launch in 2021 to 2026, but the development is massive. Clear, everyone? Is this part clear? That how the Kyoto, which created a cap and trade mechanism today, had changed the whole economics. Now we are going into carbon pricing taxonomy. Okay. A MISI map, a terrain we say, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. That's the learning will happen on this slide. Whatever I'm writing here, it covers everything. Again, it's in the synopsis I'm doing. We will be doing detail in the last segment of our report, phase 3. Clear carbon pricing taxonomy, but you need to know, so you start building slowly that steps. Don't worry, I'm not introducing something very tough here. Before we go deeper, I need to give you the map itself, because the number one error I see in boardrooms today, people talk, right? They talk. Everybody is expert in India specifically, even though they know the subject or they don't know. So in boardroom, when they open the mouth, there are people like us who start judging them. I'm sorry, but we judge. We judge on the basis of what they speak. Okay. In equity research, specifically, given that I work in the other side of equation in finance, even in published corporate strategy is treating carbon price as one thing rather than an asset, okay, or expense as a carbon, tax. It is the four things, not one. Remember, so carbon pricing is not one thing; it is four different things. Draw. Can you look into this cap? Allocate. So remember these four parts. These are the four moving parts of carbon price today. I always say this is a 2 by 2 matrix. It is a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay. So first one is cap. Second one is allocate. And the second block is trade and surrender. Without this, carbon pricing can never work. Okay. So whenever you talk in the boardroom tomorrow, you need to know all these four things, all these four moving parts. Explain the 90% of the carbon pricing behavior will come from these two moving parts, or these two blocks, which has four moving parts. Clear? Now, if you look into the first one, and that is, the carbon pricing, which we are talking about, right, is all about regulators fixing the total allowances, which is a cap. Regulators, which is fixing the total allowances, which is nothing but caps. In the short variation, we know them as a cap. Clear? They are the cap. Cap is what? They fix that how much you can emit. They are the one who fixes it, how much you can emit. That is cap. Emission means emission cap is put in the picture here. Sorry, somebody's asking a question. I saw somebody was trying to. Yeah, if you have a question, you can ask. Yeah, don't wait for me to stop because I will not stop. I have too much to cover. So you have to ask me question whenever you are looking forward to understand anything specific. Okay, if you are missing something specific, I will be happy to help you there. Okay, so first understand the cap is the first part. Master them and you will understand the ETS on earth today. Cap is where the regulator fixes it. A number in your emission for your industry, for your company. It can be any side. For your industry also a cap can be put, or for industry or a specific company also it can be put. In India, there are 429 companies which has been selected under CCTS regulatory mechanism. They are known as OEs. What is OEs? Obligated entities. These are 420. So here, if I put a cap, I am putting on individual company level. 429 individual caps I can put, right? Based on that company performance of last 5 years. I can put that. What is cap? That this is the maximum emission you should be doing compared to your peer. Now, if that cap exists for obligated unit, yes, and that unit in this year has produced higher than that cap. For example, they said only 10 ton of carbon dioxide equivalent, and we'll be learning about what is equivalent, what is carbon dioxide, tons, etc. in later. I'm just giving you idea. So the cap which government has put in compulsory market or mandatory market is 10 tons, and that company has emitted 15 ton. That excess emission requires him to buy the trade. Why? Because there will be some people who have emitted only 5 tons. He emitted only 5 ton. Cap is 10 ton. He has 5 ton extra, right? So he can sell this to this guy, this impotence which he saved, he will sell to this guy and take his number here. Buy a trade mechanism. This is what trading happens. Clear? That is what cap means. And this cap never stay static. It every year it comes down.
Can I quickly ask a question?
Yes,
Sorry,
yes,
sorry.
yes, please.
So the remaining 5 ton that he's selling, do we have a regulation where it says you have to sell this to a certain amount or something like that, or is it
Yeah, there is
based on?
absolutely there is a number which government decides. That's what I said. CBAM market currently, government has decided in CBAM market now 87.5 or $3 or
Oh,
a
right,
sterling pound. Yeah, they have given a
right.
bottom line, but that doesn't mean that this guy will sell at this price. He cannot
Mm.
sell below that price. He will sell higher than that, of course he can. If the buyer is really desperate enough, there is no supply in the market, he will push this guy and the number will go higher in the market. That's why this is called exchange traded market, where number will be initially fixed, but when it gets traded, it will be based on the market positions at that point in time. Clear? Clear? So there is a established number which government decides to start the trade, to prime the pump, to look into something which is starting initially. Clear? Is that clear? That is what cap is all about. And this will keep on shrinking. So this number will keep going down. Now, my question to you is why that should shrink? Why this number has to go down? Why cap has to go down? Why cannot it be 10 ton every year for next 20 years?
Basically need to taper it off over the years.
And why? That's my question. Why you need to taper it
Reduce
off?
its impact on the climate, right?
Very good.
Maintain
You
the
want
compliance with the Kyoto Protocol.
Indeed, you want to read net zero under Paris Agreement. There is a timeline, right? 2050, a guideline. Correct, Kalpak? And that is why this number has to reach to zero. So cap can be initially 10, but then 9, then 8, then 7, then 6, then 0. That's the ultimate aim. Hence, that number goes down. Can you imagine the pressure which will create on the seller and buyer? So if the buyer is not improving, he will keep buying extra every year more. Will his board of director will allow? Absolutely not. They will say, go hire, Ravina, go hire Biju, go hire anyone, Madhurendra, okay, in this group and get this reduced. I cannot keep paying higher every year. Because the number will keep on increasing, right? Last year it was 10, now it will go 9. And if you keep meeting 15 ton every year, what will happen? Last year you bought only 5, this year you will bought 6, next year 7, next year 8. Till 2050, you will be bankrupt literally. You will keep buying carbon credit only. And you have to also imagine the guy who is reducing, he will not reduce so fast. No. He has only 4 ton to sell now, you want 6 ton. For him also cap is reduced, right? So he has nothing to sell. Can you imagine this pressure in buyer seller market? That is why I say this will be a much larger market than even sometime the stock market if it is not controlled. That is why government has introduced a controlled market, not a freely tradable market. Because I will know that you need it desperately, Nisha. If I know this,
Yeah,
if there is a
sir, I
desperation,
have a doubt.
yeah, tell
I
me.
have a doubt.
Yeah, please.
You mentioned that if the cap is at 10
Yes,
and if that person is having excess of 5,
yes.
then he is selling it to the next guy who is having like he's
Emitted
only
more.
having
Yes,
5.
yes,
Yeah, he need more.
yes.
So here, who is paying who? That is not
No, the
clear for me.
buyer, look, the person who emitted more, he has to buy to compensate that emission, right? Cap means
Okay.
that you have to reduce your emission below this cap. Next time I
Okay.
measure
Okay.
the cap, you will
So
see it will stop.
who, whoever is having excess, he's
Excess means
paying
saving
other
access.
person.
Saving is access. Saving means he has reduced
Oh,
his emissions, so he saved.
okay.
He did
Okay.
only 5 tons instead of 10 ton emission. The other guy
Okay.
did 15 ton instead of 10 ton. So the guy who
Hmm.
exceed the limit has to come in the market and buy from the seller. Who will be the seller? Who saved it? Who
Like
put
it
the
is like he is buying the space.
the empty space which I circled for you, right?
Okay. Okay.
Why?
Got it.
Because very good question, by the way. Let me elaborate a little more there. Nisa has very right question and basic one, but important one. Okay. That if, look, why I'm selling it? Because I have put capex, Nisha. I put a technology to reduce the emission from normal level. Do I not need to put a lot of money to that? If I am producing a plastic of A grade versus C grade, do I not need to borrow good quality raw material, good quality machines which can produce that kind of plastic? Hence, that guy has to be appreciated and compensated. That is what he is selling. Clear, everyone? Very good question, Isa. Thank you very much. Must have highlighted many people today something new. Yeah, great. That is the learning, right? That's why I always encourage ask question. कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Nobody will judge you here because the judge itself is not judging you. Okay, so please ask. If you will ask, many people will learn who has this question but might not be asking. Clear? Thank you. People, please appreciate Nisha, and please do that whenever you get time. Appreciate. Appreciation is what brings fortune to everyone. Okay, so appreciate. This is what we have freely given by entities which we don't know. So appreciate others. Now allocate. Free allocation versus auction versus covered installation. This is another method that person who is playing this cap and trade market can have this allocation. So cap and allocate, that look, there is a cap, but I have done allocation through free allocation and auction covered through installation. Installation is the example which I gave just now. I told you that you have invested in your technology, hence you have reduced your emission. So now the cap which has been put, I have excess allocation. Why? Because I put investment here. Investment to reduce my emission. So my emission remain in this area. My competitor remains in this area, right? So that excess is kind of auction to cover the installation. This guy will do the auction to cover the installation. He doesn't have any installation. He has not put the new technology. So guy A has not put the new technology. Guy B has put a new technology. So the guy B will sell to guy A. That is the allocation. Is it clear now? Right? And that is one guy who is bearing the transition cost and charging it to the person who is not doing it. A steel factory, right? There is a green steel concept, which will be most probably some of the speaker is planning to talk about it. So you'll listen that. Okay. He is talking about green steel, and India, that is the best way to transition, but it's very costly. So Tata, if you know Tata Steel in UK, okay, UK government is giving them 100 billions of dollar in their initiative to green the steel. So government is putting money. In India, it's rare, right? Which Indian government they don't might not have so much of surplus money to allocate to Tata Steel one company, but UK is doing. Okay, UK want green steel. Clear? So they are encouraging Tata Steel that okay, you put the money, we will give you 100 billion. They didn't do, and Tata Steel has to face a major problem. Tata Steel. Have you done this exercise? This is the second homework. If you have not done it, if you have done it, please write your summary. Tata Steel got penalized in Netherlands. Netherlands. You know how much? $18.6 billion. This is the class action suit I'm talking about. 6 million is already been allocated by Tata Steel in Netherlands to pay this penalty. But now that is growing to $18.6 billion. And that is the challenge. Okay. So if you don't improve like in UK, other countries like Netherlands will penalize you. So that's your second homework. Please do a research on this and put 100 words summary in the group itself. Okay. So the first person, everybody will read. The last person, nobody will read. So try to write the first, but complete this assignment as well. Okay. Write your summary. Use LLM. I don't mind it, but write it anything which you think is unique and highlight that. So write 100 words. One statement from your side, I definitely want. That's how we will learn the reporting. Reporting is also one of the phases, phase two, where we are learning the reporting, and that reporting will come from such practices. Okay, your wordings. You can use AI. We'll train you this time. I'm planning to train, so Biju definitely attend because this time we are introducing AI uses in report writing, ESG report writing or sustainability report writing. We are introducing those prompts, etc. So we'll be helping you with that AI. Okay, Sandeep?
Vivek sir,
Yes,
Vivek
Moni.
sir, I
Yes.
just want to know who fixes the cap, like government or which regulatory body?
Government they have created bodies like MOEFCC is a
Yes,
mouthful now,
yes,
right?
is
That is the
Ministry of it.
Ministry of Environmental, Forest and Climate Change. That is the
Okay,
body which has empowered BEE. Have you heard about this
okay.
agency?
Yes, yes, Bureau of Energy Efficiency.
Absolutely. They have empowered this agency. Yes. And there are few people which I know also, not professionally, but, kind of. And they are at the helm of affair. They have been working on these industry reports and they are creating those number. They have selected 8 industry right now. Again, it is too early to talk about it. It will be covered in your phase three, right? And they have selected 429 companies, which will reach to 820 over a phase. Yeah, 820
And
companies.
one more question, one more question.
Yes,
If
yes,
the once the cap is fixed and if somebody produces more emissions than the cap, then
yes.
he has to buy those emissions from the same industry within this 429 businesses, or from some biochar project, or from some forestation, or from some
So,
biofuel.
but okay, so there are voluntary market, there is a mandatory market. Okay, you have to
Yes.
understand these two market are independently going to work. They are not
Hmm.
going to mix themselves. Voluntary market carbons are traded at much lower value than the compulsory market. Okay, right
Okay.
now as it exists. Why? Because voluntary market, many people cannot participate in compulsory market. So many industry itself cannot participate in compulsory market. Why? Because only eight sectors government of India has identified to address right now. Not all the sectors. So what other
Hmm.
people will do? They also want to achieve net zero. They want to be early of the curve. They want to be better in the world. They want to do business in Europe, right? So those company
Hmm.
goes to voluntary market. Hence pricing is different and you cannot keep buying here and there. That exchange criteria is yet to be fixed. People want that should be allowed. There will be protest on road possibly, right? Because compulsory market number will go very high. These guys will want to participate here. For
Hmm.
example, alt carbon for rock weathering. I don't know if you know there is a mechanism in where you can protect the rock. They have created a
Hmm.
carbon credit for $300. Can you believe that? This is one of the most successful story in the world today.
Can you repeat that,
$300.
Mr. Vivek? Sir, can you repeat that? Which company?
It's called Alt Carbon. Alt Carbon. This is the company which has created a carbon credit which is one of the costliest. In artisanal market like art market, value is limitless. Any price anybody can put. But at a volume which they are talking about, which is a massive numbers, right? 1 lakh ton, I think they are talking about, right? And that is the number 10,000, in excess of 10,000. They have created this and they have sold in the market $300. You know what is the biochar market right now? 100. Here again, a case study is there with Varaha selling it to Google. Biochar market. Okay, 100. Then you have agriculture. There are two types of agriculture market. One is agriculture, one is artisanal agriculture. This is applicable to smaller, smaller landowners, right? If they are coming together, ideally 40 farmers coming together, putting 1 acre land or 5 acre of land, and if they are putting enough investments in terms of sustainable agriculture practices, SAP, they will get $140, which is again highest. But at the same time, if you are a normal farmer and you are adopting SAP, right? You are adopting SAP, you will not even get $30 to $40. Are you getting? And this is very high. It used to be $2 to $15. Can you believe it? Just 2 years ago. I'm giving you a highest number, $30 to $40. So can you see the difference? 10 time difference is there in the same market. So it depends on how accurate, Sandeep, the market is. And that's why they might not yet allowed. They have not given any clear instruction directives, but we are waiting for that. And if it is there, I'm not aware. We are learning in that process. By October, we will have much more clarity that can we
So
do
Vivek
cross.
sir, in the sorry to disturb you.
Yeah,
In
no,
the
no, tell me.
initial years, if this compulsory market doesn't have surplus carbon emissions to buy, then how will can they switch to voluntary markets
That is
in
what
that case?
the mechanics, that is what mechanics will be decided. They got operative in July only, where the government has
Okay.
started looking into the numbers. By October, this will be closed because the first reporting will happen in October when the listing will happen, right? Like IPO, initial public offering. Everybody will register, they will show that how many of them have saved and how many of them are not saving. Price will react to it. And when the
Okay.
price will react, market forces will come into play, including regulator, and they will relax that requirement. But if that will actually, I don't see possibility because none of the market has allowed that. But India has different dynamics. Let's see. Let's see. Time will decide on that.
And one more question, maybe
Yes.
that is out of context. In
Yes.
our Haryana nearby place, government is putting a lot of effort in creating awareness among farmers to not to burn paddy stubble,
Correct.
and they are incentivizing the farmers, like they have fixed almost 1,000 rupees per acre if
Correct.
somebody is baling those paddy stubble and transporting it to nearby refineries to make ethanol out of it. So like if in this case, like government is getting the carbon credits, or are they registering this data into some national inventory, or like how are they
So you are saying that
afford?
government is paying $1,000, so government should get that carbon credit, you are saying?
Yes, or the farmer should get.
Okay, so you have to understand the whole life cycle of that ethanol. You cannot judge only on the buying and selling of one party to another. That is why life cycle assessment is essential here. You have to see the journey of that stubble and the mitigation which it is creating. So if it could have been burned, how much emission it might have made? Who would be responsible in that case? Of course, farmer, right? And then it comes down to ethanol conversion. Now, who is using ethanol should be appreciated rather than the farmer in this case, because farmer is getting a money in this case, right?
Yes.
Compensation. Government has nothing to do with this. Government is an enabler. They are just incentivizing the thing. If they would not have incentivized, they had a they have to invest in the atmosphere to clean that air, correct or wrong? They have to
Hmm.
buy
Yes.
CCTS unit. In Delhi, they will sprinkle some water on some tree. That also is a cost, right? And then people will
Yes.
shout in a stadium filled with Messi and Messi fans. Ye QI. Have you heard this fiasco?
Yes.
You heard? ये क्यों आई fiasco? ये क्यों आई? Right? When Messi came and our chief minister was felicitating, she was felicitating him. There was a shouting happening, ye kyun aayi, ye kyun aayi, and that was that story when government was supposed to do something and they didn't do it. Okay. Now, similarly, government will not appreciate it and neither. Sorry, I lost you. Somebody was trying to speak there. So government, my point was, limited point was, Sandeep, government is not the one who should get the credit or debit for it. They are the enabler. The people who are really putting the effort should get the credit for it. Okay. So for example, if you are a user of petrol and you are using ethanol based petrol, your carbon emission will go down or not? How you will
Yes.
know how much carbon footprint you have reduced? By knowing how much of that ethanol, 20% mixing is there. So say 2 liter instead of 10 liter. 10 liter, you reduce it your consumption to 8 liters. So 2 liter benefit you will directly get. So you are the one who will get the benefit. The people who are producing it, taking the effort to mixing that ethanol will get the credit for it. Earlier they had a footprint of 10 tons, now they will have 8 tons, right? So that is how the distribution of carbon credit will happen on the user side and on the basis of life cycle assessment of the whole progress. Okay, that introduction also will be doing very soon before we start.
Vivekji, like in thermal power plants, this
Yes.
5% blending of biomass-based fuels has been done mandatorily, and the tenders are floated, and this is into practice now in India, like in thermal power plants. So who is benefiting from that? Like, are they these thermal power plants are have registered themselves into voluntary market or like compulsory markets?
No, they
And
will not. Look, okay. So one thing you have to understand, carbon credit power plants is a part of mandatory market, by the way. They were as well. They have a targets to achieve. Okay. What is that target? They have a target of transition, energy transition mechanism under NDC. So it's a government which has put a target. The government is not caring about how much credit you generated. They are caring about, are you taking enough step to remove this? Because emissions should not happen, right? Carbon credit or carbon tax is a stick and carrot theory. Why government will give you a credit when you have to do it and it is the government who has to do it? Government who has to invest in power plant. You think power plant investment is coming from somewhere else? If it is a government induced one, NTPC, who is doing the investment? Your tax money is going there, correct or wrong? NTPC,
yes,
he has to invest 50 crore. Either he will go for FPO and raise money from public market, or they have to ask government to give that money. In both ways, it's the people who are getting punished. So why they will give you a credit for it? It's a requirement you have to furnish. However, the moment power sector company has been identified, these are the critical power plants, and they have to transition, but they cannot raise so much of fund. In that case, incentive will be given or tax will be put. And given that is a government entity, they love to put incentive, right? And that is what carbon cap trade market is. Very good and deep question. It cannot be answered in the day one because many people, Sandeep has no understanding of what we are talking. Okay, so they will be lost, but slowly this theory will build and you will see the answer one day coming to you direct on your plate. Okay, remember that day.
thank you,
So there's one
thank
more question, sir. There's one
Yes.
more question, basic question.
Kalpak, Kalpak has raised
Now,
the hand. Biju, if you don't mind. Kalpak, let me
no
take the
problem,
Kalpak
no
and then
problem.
I'm
Yeah.
coming.
Hi. Thank you. So, two questions might be a little off from what we were just talking about,
No
but
problem.
I feel it's still relevant.
Tell me.
One is we must have heard of the Venn diagrams, right? How like there's a circle in which within the circle there's a certain percentage that you can account for parts of emissions, right?
Yes.
Now, that also is put under a rectangular box which amounts for everything that we account for. whether it's within the system or whether it is not unaccounted for, which would be
Yes.
outside the circle itself.
Yes.
So, how is there a government body or any place where I can look in what that entire rectangular body would consist of, which would be exhaustive of what is already included and accounted for, not scope three, what is beyond that, like a
Scope
blind
4,
spot,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, the scope 4 they are talking about. Uh, I'm not aware about any government body doing it. It's a matter of
Yeah.
research for me as well, but I will try to find, and maybe other people will also try to find and bring on the table for sure,
Fair
Kalpana.
point.
But today I'm
And something that follows that would be the carbon credits. We usually have CO2 as the base measure of accounting all of this. Reason being that uh, what I can think of at least is that it has a 100-year lifespan before it gets eliminated, and since it's the longest, it has the longest term. It becomes a good basis for accounting for such emissions. But when it comes to another greenhouse gas, which is H2O, a vapor, in the vapor form,
yes,
uh, the way it impacts is not like other greenhouse gases, but it amplifies what other greenhouse gases do, which is trap heat,
correct.
right? So it has a compounding effect if any other matrix is changed. So how is that also factored into the in a financial term? How we account for it is something that
So
I wanted to learn.
you have to first understand, is vapor a greenhouse gas?
But
Yes, it is.
yes, yeah.
But is it the human generated one? And does
No,
it have,
it can be any, yeah, like ocean generated
that
vapor
is the
from
point.
any source. Yeah.
Yeah, so first we have to categorize between naturally occurring greenhouse gases versus
Hmm.
man-made greenhouse gases. Okay,
Yes, that's
that's
true.
the differentiation we have to learn. And current system, if you see current agreements, treaties, United Nations work of body of work, all that
Hmm.
is toward human generated one rather than the natural one. Because volcano, it emits methane,
Fair
it
point.
emits, so many gases which we can't control. But
True.
those are the naturally occurring. Why we are not targeting? We will be covering that also on Sunday, maybe Monday, maybe second
Fair
class on
point.
that, where we will be learning this specific learning that why natural is not that threatening to climate
Got
change.
it. Got it.
Over a 800,000 years of study, and you will ask me that question at that point, how 800,000 years? Our 10,000 years is what Homo sapiens are seen on Earth. Of course, they were there before, but in different format, not as intelligent as what we are seeing in last 5,000. So my
Mhm.
point is, we'll be looking into that research and we will be understanding this topic. Let me cover there rather than here right
Fair.
now.
Fair.
Yeah, but there
Fair.
is answer to your question for sure.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Okay, now I'm coming to Biju. Yes, your question, please.
Sir, a year back, there was an MD who said that he wanted to get into his company wanted to get into the carbon credit business.
Okay.
And then my question is, we have this 429 OE companies in India that the government of India identified. So similarly, do we have such amount from GCC, or where do I go and look which companies are OE when it comes to GCC?
Obligated units, right? You are talking about.
Yes, obligated entities. Yes, yes.
Saudi Arabia, I have not seen yet, but I have also heard what you are saying that there are many companies which has been brought under this purview. UAE has started doing it, but Saudi Arabia, I'm not aware of. I have to check that. Good, you ask me a question, I will definitely search for it. But I
Right,
have
and
not
second one
seen
is,
that any mandatory requirement there in that market yet. And you
right,
know what
there
will
are,
happen. The moment they will put the massive will be blow to the
yes.
government itself, right? Saudi Aramco, etc., has to become the obligated entity.
Yes, part of 2030 vision of MBS, I think most of the level one companies and level
Has
two
to.
are supposed to be in this program. So,
And
anybody who wants to get into this business, what is the source of identifying which company needs this amount of? Is it the ESG reporting, or is there
it's a
a way
ESG
where we
reporting.
can?
Starting is ESG reporting, but carbon accounting has to be much deeper. The current state of affairs is not very encouraging for carbon accounting because people stop at scope 2. Okay, so when we will
Ah,
go into
okay,
phase one of our second section or module 2 and 3, you will learn that without a scope 3 calculation, actually, whatever people are reporting is it's a good initiative, but it is definitely not anything near
right.
closer to climate action. We'll learn that. How many of you are aware scope 3 is nearly 99% in certain businesses, and on an average it is 70% of emission. So what we are saying is that I will not report the whole body how it is functioning. I will only report the eye functioning. That is what we are talking about. Treatment has to be done on the whole body, and you are saying, no, I will only fix the eye. For eye, you have an eye doctor. Okay. But what about full body, which is getting ailment? That is what is happening in market today. People are saying, I don't care about what my supplier is doing. I will only report what I am doing. You exist on planet Earth merely nothing. Merely. Okay. Your contribution to the, your reduction will not help, but your requirements and reducing the carbon footprint there will help the planet Earth. This concept is little deeper. We'll be learning that in module 2 of phase 1 for sure. Okay. So both questions remain open and good questions. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other question?
This might be off topic, but is carbon
Please,
capture
please.
considered as creating carbon credits?
Carbon capture consultants.
No, no, no. Is the process of doing carbon capture, like I see there's
Yes,
a
yes,
company
yes,
called
yes.
Enka.
If
Does
you
that
have no
generate carbon credits
Yes,
for a
if you
company?
have, if you are not using this for captive unit, you are giving it to
Mhm.
somebody else. You are the one who invested in it. You are giving
Yes.
on lease to somebody. You can capture the carbon credit. You can sell that carbon credit independent to that unit helping that company. So
And
it
it would
cannot be a
be,
Yes,
mhm.
tell me.
Would it be independently generated outside the government body and it would be your own?
You can do
By
that.
the,
People might think like that they will just put the carbon capturing units,
Mhm.
convert into tiles, whatever they captured, right? And they can claim the credit on the tiles. So tile, if
Mhm.
you buy, you get one credit of carbon as well.
Mhm.
One credit. So if I am a carbon emitting company, I will go and
Mhm.
buy those tile in order to reduce my emissions. As simple
Becomes
as
a physical product, right?
Absolutely. It will be part
Yeah.
of the product. That is how the REC works, isn't it? REC works
Mhm.
because of this concept, right? That if somebody is taking that energy, captive unity energy, there are two ways, right? By the way, there is some person, good Kalpak, I am talking to you, some person from one of the leading bank want to get into PPA. Okay, their requirement is smaller, but they have 80 different location. Three of them are in Mumbai where they are aggressively now they are looking. Okay, once the relationship is set, maybe they will give you, but the numbers are really not making sense for many of the PPA current PPA provider. So innovative people like you may look into it, and if it works for you, we will get you even funding, etc. That's my help to you will be, and we can help that company. Okay, so let's speak Kalpak in this week itself. I'm waiting for their exact requirement. We are acting as a consultant to them, but we need somebody to help them eventually. Will you be
For
interested in a smaller projects, right?
sure. Yeah.
PPA
Yeah.
projects. Okay, clear. So we'll
Yeah.
speak next week. Just make sure that you are in touch with Sandeep and we will do this. Thanks. Okay. Uh, okay, so we have another session cancelled too. Okay. 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 Clear. Now, so trade, you understood that when you have the cap done, allocation done, trade done, we'll stop in another 10 minutes. Okay. We'll stop in another 10 minutes. I have to catch up something. So, trade and surrender. Okay. Now, the important part is when you have traded something, when you have sold something, one of the missing piece is surrender. People has to surrender it. This is what it means by trading. This is what it means by trading. I have to pick this call. Just give me a sec. Hello. Hi, Sudhanshu. Hi. Okay, so this is one of the missing piece in the puzzle, and that is that after trade, the primary and secondary market trade, and then again, this is a confusing stuff that why secondary, how the secondary market happens. Yes, but secondary is that somebody buys that credit and sell into the market again, right? That's the secondary. So in this process, the surrender becomes very important. Otherwise, double counting will happen. Okay, so who is doing the surrender will stop that process. For example, I'm talking about people tend to think carbon market is stock market, right? That you bought that stock, you keep it with you throughout your life, and you can keep appreciating that stuff going forward. In carbon market, that concept doesn't work. It has a vintage. Every carbon credit will have a vintage. Vintage means what? A year of expiry. It expires the moment that credit has lost its effect. So if you are not emitting to the cap, only this year it is valid. Next year